Renee here with Joy for the Journey. Today we're going to do a book haul looking at some picture books for the young ones as well as chapter book series that kids from preschool through elementary, especially early elementary, will really enjoy. So let's get started with the chapter books. So the first series I want to show you is a 9-book series called The Secret of the Hidden Scrolls, and it is like my son's favorite series. So it is about a brother and a sister who go to their uncle's house to stay. He's an archaeologist in this old mansion, and it's kind of like Chronicles of Narnia, where they discover this room and they're able to go back in time. I won't spoil all the details, but each time they go back in time in a book, it's a different biblical time period or story, and they are, going to solve problems and have to get back before a certain time. And the only disclaimer I'd give is that it does have the word Satan in it a lot because he's the antagonist. And so, yeah, my kids are very aware of the spiritual battle and, Satan and God. But sometimes I got tired of saying that word in some chapters or books where it was said more than I thought was necessary. So I might replace it with the word enemy or, whatever. But really not a big deal. Totally worth it. Highly recommend this series, okay? Another series that we read is the A.A. Milne Winnie the Pooh. And there's 2 main books, The House at Pooh Corner and Winnie the Pooh. And they also have 2 poem books. And so my son enjoyed these. Maybe not quite as much. We did read them in preschool. He, in that age, was enjoying the Disney's Winnie the Pooh one a little bit better that I have tucked away over here and we'll look at in a minute. But definitely great classics to read, and we enjoyed those. The other series that we really enjoyed is the Tales from Maple Ridge, and this is a 6-book series, and it's set back in the pioneer days, so it's kind of like Little House on the Prairie for young boys, and I really liked it for that reason. And I also like that it has bigger, less words per page and pictures. So pretty quickly, this read aloud could become your child's independent or guided reading book. And that's kind of how I look at the other chapter book series as well. I've already previewed them and read them with him, and over some time, then it'll be his turn to read them. Another series we really enjoyed is Jungle Doctor's Fables by Paul White, and he has, I believe, 6 books in this series. He also has another series that's definitely geared toward older children. It's a missionary series that's kind of dark. We have that one tucked away for later, but this one's great for the younger ones and older ones. And it's basically about this missionary in Africa who is underneath a tree and meets with the people and uses fables to teach them gospel illustrations. And so in every one, it has, that kind of format, and also, some pictures. And at the end of each one, it's got this what's inside the fable and special message and some verses you could look up as well. So it's just really enriching. Some of the language within, my only disclaimer about this one, is a little odd to read. So you kind of might have to edit for that. But I feel like my son was super engaged with this, and we read this in kindergarten. So it was just a time and season when I had a little more time to just snuggle and do some tea and tail time with him, and so we got through a lot of different books, and he really enjoyed this one. Another series is called Gold Town Beginnings, and this one, I think it's also 6 books, and this one is also about a brother and a sister who live during the kind of westward expansion later period during the gold rush, and it's really cute and fun, and definitely a book that, not too long, and they'll be reading it to themselves, and you can say, I've already pre-approved and read this series with him, and now he'll enjoy it again for himself and even boost comprehension because he's already heard it, maybe a couple years before. And yeah, really engaging. He really enjoyed this one, and like any book, I feel like there really wasn't anything to edit, but if there was, it would be sometimes he would roll his eyes or get annoyed with his sister, but and I was like, okay, this is an age where he might start rolling his eyes, but most of that is a good kind of non-example. When he works through and gets along with his sister, it actually shows some good character and how he works through some things. So It's really good. Another series that we have read is The Imagination Station, and there are a lot of books in this series. I'm not sure how many, but a lot. And again, it's The Imagination Station by Focus on the Family, and it comes from The Adventures in Odyssey. And what's neat about this series is that each book is historically based. So it's definitely very fiction, but they use historical characters, and the kids, like the other series, the Hidden Scrolls one, they are going back in time, but instead of into a biblical time. Actually, no, I take that back. Sometimes some of the books were in a biblical historical period, and other ones were just in a world history or American history setting, which is really cool if you're doing a unit or anytime you just want to make some extra connections to history. Yeah, this one, I saw some reviews on Amazon where parents kind of complained about certain things, like, in the book, like Leif Erikson, and some elements that alluded to, I forgot, slavery or death or things like that. But I think the way they did it was tasteful and appropriate for kids. I may have edited some things, and so that's really the key thing. You're reading it to them. If you just want to kind of edit it a little bit, I think we all do that. But I like this series. We enjoyed it, and we're still going to eventually repick it back up. We kind of took a break after the first set I bought. Okay, this is not, well, kind of a series, but Little Pilgrim's Progress. After the Bible, it's the highest sold book, not this version, but the book Pilgrim's Progress, and this one's the version Little Pilgrim's Progress based on John Bunyan's classic. And so it's actually 2 books in one. So it's I forgot the name of the second part, but the first part about the husband, and then the second part about the wife makes up the book. And my son really enjoyed this, especially since he had seen the Kids Pilgrim Progress movie, and so it kind of just already got him really excited about it. So yeah, I recommend this one. And Becca also has a kids version in other companies. Okay, next, the Boxcar Children. So yeah, this is one of those beloved chapter book series, and it's just really clean and really engaging. It's very nature study, nuancy friendly, because these kids are always out in nature and they're solving mysteries and they're working together, and they're basically these orphans who end up finding their grandfather, and we're living in a boxcar, and they just go through so many fun adventures. It's really fun. And it actually inspired us to start like a little shadow box with our nature pinned to it, like little bugs we found, because they had like a little nature museum they set up, and different things you find, like snake skins and feathers, we added to our little museum. And this has a lot of books. There's actually 100 and, I'm not sure, maybe 119 is the number of original books that the author Gertrude Chandler wrote before she passed away. And I think I read that after that someone else continued the series, and it went up to maybe 160 something, I can't remember. But I think my thought is maybe we'll read like the first 119 books only, because I'm like, I really don't like to get stuck on one series way too long, because I want to move on to other things, and not spend too much time with any one series. This will probably take us years. So what we'll do is probably like, we read the first 4, and then maybe we'll take a break and then do a shorter, just single chapter book or series, and then come back to it, as we want to. And then this is another series, the Michael Bond Paddington books, and of course they have the picture books as well. And so we read the first 1 or 2, and it was good, but we're not super excited about it, but I feel like it's something we'll come back to. It's, the chapter books together are about this many. I don't remember how many, but it's a decent sized set, so we'll get back to it when we're ready, but it's pretty good. There was one chapter I really didn't like where Paddington did like, I think for his birthday he got like some magician stuff, and so like there was a like mentioning of a crystal ball and some other stuff that we aren't cool with, and the context and the way it was doing it was portraying those things as like a positive or fun thing. And I understand that's maybe norm in our culture, but for us as Christians, it's not. And so I like things to be put in their proper context. If we are giving non-examples, like it's portrayed as what it is, not something, that's a positive for us. But it's a good series still, and cute and fun. All right, so the Beverly Cleary Ralph the Mouse collection. Another one that we enjoyed. I had to do some editing, but we actually did not read I think we didn't read the last one, but we really enjoyed the first two, and yeah, it was really fun and imaginative, the boy finding a mouse, and of course there's the movie too that you could watch before or after you read the series. So yeah, fun one. We like that. Okay, Raggedy Ann and Andy stories. I just happened to find this at a thrift store, and it's just really cute old stories about Raggedy Ann and Andy. And they enjoyed this, and you can just, read stories here and there from it. They're pretty short, and yeah, we enjoyed that. The Wind and the Willows. It's one of those classics I feel like you got to read at least once, well, if you want to. And, we read this, I think, this past year or summer. And, some of the language is a little antiquated or odd, like when you're reading these books or like Beatrix Potter books. But overall, I feel like it's fun and imaginative. It's set in nature. And, I think, again, with this one, there were some spots that were a little weird that I edited out. But it's a good one. And they actually have a second sequel to this that we haven't read yet, but have. All right. Let's look at the picture books, okay? So the first set is Berenstain Bears. We enjoy Berenstain Bears, and they have a lot of good books about, like, topics that are, good to talk about. Like stranger danger, and, when you have a new baby in the family, and, let's see, visiting the dentist, and, thinking of people in need. And there's some really good spiritual ones. I think later, when Jan and Sam Berenstain, the sons, are writing together, you can tell they're, like, believers, and they have ones like the Golden Rule and Say Their Prayers, Kindness Counts, A Job Well Done, Faithful Friends. And of course, with any book, you might think the way they said it or explained or portrayed it is exactly how you would have, but I enjoyed these books. I think they open up good discussions and they're fun, so we enjoyed the Berenstain Bears. And Sammy and His Sheep. My friend got me this book, and it's absolutely wonderful. It's like a little sheep, and he's on God's side of the fence, and then his little friend is on the other shepherd's side who's not well taken care of, and he starts to just talk about his shepherd, God the Father, right? So it's an illustration of God the Father, and the sheep represents us, and it, like, the book slowly just takes little stories and has one picture of each story and some questions, and it takes you through the psalm and uses this adorable sheep story and illustration to open up some great conversations about God the Father as our shepherd and Psalms 23. So it's really sweet. Great to read this is like the spring and, resurrection, Easter season. The Treasure Tree. This is really cool. I got introduced to this when I was helping with this missionary kid camp, and the leader was like using this book, and it's about how we have different personalities, and so it's like these friends, a dog, a beaver, a lion, and an otter, and each one of them has a different personality, and together they solve the riddles to find the treasure tree, and it just shows how we each are unique. It's really sweet story, super vivid pictures and vocabulary, and they enjoy this. It's definitely a repeat read. Every so often we'll cycle back through it, and it's kind of like a chapter book actually, because it breaks the stories into little chapters or sections. Okay, Winnie the Pooh again. So yeah, it showed you the chapter book, A.A. Milne. Disney of course took it over later and made them into stories, and I know some of us aren't doing Disney these days, but the old school stories like Winnie the Pooh are just really great, and the kids really enjoy them. Great pictures, super fun, giggles and laughter, and just silly Winnie the Pooh. And this one is I think that this one is good enough. Like, it has like several stories in it, and they're just the key ones, and yeah, they like to hear these more than once. Okay, Beatrix Potter, Peter Rabbit. I got the anthology that has every single story, but I have to say I don't really care for all her stories. You know, it's just it's different. You know, the way they wrote then, and some of the stories are just a little odd, and the language is a little weird. But then there's definitely enough of the stories in there that you're like, oh, of course, the famous Peter Rabbit one. It's really, you know, just great. So I don't necessarily suggest you grab the whole anthology, like, you know, just getting the key stories. Some of the anthologies may be that they have just picked kind of the famous ones, and that's probably good enough. But if you just are itching to at least read all of them once, then this is the one to get. So Beatrix Potter, the complete Peter Rabbit. All right, the beloved James Harriet Treasury for Children. So James Harriet writes a lot of books, he passed away, of course, a lot of books for adults. He, you know, was a veterinarian. That was his character, and just really great stories set in nature and animals. I have not read the adult books, but I understand that's the case. And his children's books are just lovely. You know, takes you back in time during the farm days and sets you in nature with the animals, and you can just see how things were then. And you know, it's just really sweet. It's one of those, you know, you can put in your fall collection and read every fall if you want, or every few years reread with your kids. And they have it on audiobook as well. And some people probably read it on YouTube. All right. Alice in Bible Land. These were on my shelf as a kid, and there's just a whole bunch of them. A little girl goes back in time through her Bible and tells you, you know, each book is a different Bible story, and the pictures are just lovely. The little girl is super sweet. You know, the only disclaimer I'd say about these is, you know, this was set back in the 90s, and, you know, it was all Disney and magic, and so it'll say her book became a magic screen, and so maybe that's really not a big deal, but if you want, you could just say her book became a screen instead of saying magic screen. Or my mom was really big on that, and she put special, but it's not a big deal. And you know, understanding with them, I think that what is real and what is pretend, and that, you know, the Bible stories are true. And of course, we're doing Bible time other than this, and this is just here and there. And they understand God's word is true and right. And so they're using this fun, like with the other series, way to imagine if we could go back in time or go into our Bibles. These are fun. Okay, golden books are always great. My kids love the Three Pigs, and Little Red Riding Hood, and the Elves and the Shoemaker, Jack and the Beanstalk, the Saggy Baggy Elephant, Princess and the Pea, the Pokey Little Puppy, the Little Red Caboose, pretty good one, not our favorite, Mickey Mouse Heads for the Sky, yeah, and others. You know, golden books are fun and sweet. Harry the Dirty Dog's a fun book we've enjoyed. Little lost dog gets found, and he gets so dirty they don't recognize him at first, so he finally gets his bath. Click Clack Moo and Giggle Giggle Quack are just those fun, silly ones that kids enjoy. My daughter, I'm not really a big fan of books that are like movie story books, because like we're not, you know, the type who will just like watch like Daniel Tiger, but you know, here and there. And so she really enjoys these, so you know, we'll read some of these here and there. And if you give a mouse a cookie books, those are really fun for the little ones. The critter books, at one point I actually sold all our critter books, and then I ended up finding a really good deal and buying back like a whole set of them, because I wasn't so sure about them. Sometimes little critters, not the greatest example, but I think that at my son's age, like, he gets it now. It's just really funny how the critter's kind of silly, and you know, they enjoy it. It's comical. So that's one of those series every so often you pull them out and they just want you to read a whole bunch in a row to them. All right, we're almost done here. Curious George books. These are always fun. They had anthologies of these. The older anthologies, you know, was written during the time when, you know, it was very normal to smoke and things like that. So like a lot of those books have that in the pictures, which is a little odd, but depending on your kid, you can always explain to them, you know, people didn't know as much then, and this is how it is and why we need to take care of our bodies. But I don't read the anthology so much. I like the newer ones, which do not have that depicted in it. Franklin, last one. Franklin's fun. you know, just different little stories about a turtle and his animal friends. So you get some nature and, you know, cute, you know, personification of animals. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that. And I'm going to be doing another book haul, you know, just different topics and ideas for Morning Basket here soon. So I will see you later. Have a good week and enjoy your kiddos.